All right. So moving on to the next segment, we are going to go back and talk about the ongoing government shutdown. So, unfortunately, today is the seventh day of our second government shutdown under the Trump administration. We all remember he did this on his first term. And unfortunately, it's having its effect on the American people. But I want to start talking about why is it that we have this shutdown in place. So let's go over to an article here from CNN that explains a little bit about it. And it says that um, they hope to extend the subsidies, and it's talking about the Democratic Party. It's that they're hoping to extend the subsidies that originally enacted by the Biden administration during the COVID-19 rescue legislation, and then later extended, which expire at the end of the year. If they do not extend these, the premiums for people that are under the ACA may be increased by 75% on average. And this is according to KFF, a nonpartisan healthcare group, health policy research group. So Obamacare is one of the best or only ways that American people that don't have private insurance through their employers or who are self employed can secure plans. So we're talking about healthcare. We're talking about people that need access to healthcare. And we're talking about an administration right now who doesn't want these people to have access to Obamacare. And quite frankly, it's because Trump has never liked Obamacare. Trump doesn't like Obama. Trump doesn't like Obamacare. I mean, you can make your own conclusions there. But at the end of the day, it's the American people who are suffering because the Republican Party does not, they do not want to negotiate with the Democratic Party. They do not want to sit at the table with Democrats and talk about these issues. Instead, they are wanting to wait. They want to come to a resolution right now and just wait until December because they promise that they will take the time to sit down and talk about these things and come to a settlement and all these things. So, and the issue becomes is can they really trust Republicans, the GOP, to hold their word and negotiate? And the answer is no. They cannot trust on the GOP because President Trump is an untrusty man. He's an untrusty person. And we all know that his intent is to get rid of Obamacare. So why would they believe that President Trump and his administration and his people are going to sit down and are going to negotiate when at the end of the deadline? It's really unfair for the Democratic Party to say that they are the ones responsible for this shutdown when at the end of the day, it's the Trump administration who is holding your healthcare, it's holding your government employees hostage in order to get rid of healthcare or accessible healthcare for thousands of American people. A huge hike in premiums that will become evident in the incoming weeks as Obamacare customers seek re-enrollment could make healthcare unaffordable and cause extreme hardship to many Americans, as CNN's Tammy Lobby has extensively reported. So why do we want to get rid of healthcare for thousands of people? Well, the Republican answer to that is quite astonishing. And it's that they claim that these subsidies are being used for illegal immigrants. Now, we're going to go deep into that in later on in the segment. But that is what the Republicans are saying is that the Democratic Party wants to give illegal immigrants free health care. Now, Is that really true? Is that really fair? We have to sit in the middle here. We have to think outside the box as Americans, not as a Republican, not as a Democrat, but we have to sit outside the box and look at really what's going on to figure out, are they telling you the truth? And in order to do that, you have to think about, if this administration, do they tell you the truth? Do they talk with truth? Or do they go around the truth and they gaslight the American people, and they go around the different laws, and they shortcut their way into doing whatever they want? And you got to analyze all these things and think to yourself, are they telling me the truth? Do they really want to negotiate? Do they really want the American people to have health care? Or is this just retaliation because they don't like the Democrats, and because they don't like Obamacare, and because they want to give tax cuts to the rich? I mean, you tell me, right? So we have to think outside the box. And this is one of the main reasons that we are now diving in to this type of content, is because there's a lot of rhetoric out there, the right versus the left versus the right. They are the ones responsible. No, they are the ones responsible. Well, in our last episode, we saw a video of Trump that said that the president is the one responsible for government shutdowns. So if we start off by going on based on Trump's own words, he is the one responsible for this shutdown. And if we base it on action and base it on what's actually happening, yes, he is the one responsible for this shutdown, because he wants the government to be shut down to put pressure on the Democrats and to use the government employees as political tools, political pawns, so that the Democrats feel pressured enough to let go of this issue. And then at the end of the day, they will not sit down and negotiate, because this is what this administration does. They bully themselves into whatever narrative they want. They gaslight the American people. They lie to the American people, and people buy it. This is so surprising. So that's why we have to get out of this partisan mentality, is because, we have to call out the bad for what it is. We can recognize the good. Sure, I may sound biased or partisan. I'm not. I'm basing my comments on what Donald Trump has done since the beginning, not just this administration, but the prior administration, based on his words, based on his actions. Actions speak louder than words. And we have to understand that Donald Trump's actions tell me he is not a trustworthy person, that he does not have my best interest in mind, that he cannot relate to my struggles. He cannot relate to me not having to worry about not having a paycheck tomorrow, or not being able to feed my family, or the effects that a government shutdown will have on thousands of government employees, their families, the American people themselves. I mean, the citizens themselves are at risk as well. And at the end of the day, he's just playing games so he can get what he wants, because he wants to get rid of Obamacare. Donald Trump wants, or he says he wants, to save the country money. He says, and again, actions are louder than words. So he says that he wants to save the American money. He wants to make cuts in American budget. But we're talking about a president whose first administration, he spent and he added to our deficit more than any other president before him. And we're talking about one term. So what is he trying to do? Is he trying to reparate for his own actions in the first administration by going to the absolute extreme? And now he wants to get rid of people and cut budgets and get rid of healthcare, for accessible healthcare, in the name of reparations? Probably not, because this guy doesn't have a conscience. What he's trying to do is he's wanting to do this for tax cuts for rich people. All right, so It's all about his own people. It's all about his own base. It's all about, and he said it himself, um, about who should deserve to get paid. Again, even though the law says that government employees are entitled to pay after government shutdown, he said it himself. He said, "Well, we're going to take care of our own people." So we'll see what happens with that, and we'll have an episode this coming Friday with Andrew Weeks. We're going to talk. We're going to dive in a little bit more about that topic in general. But so let's go back to let's go back to what's going on. So this shutdown, it affects our government employees. It affects the security, and talk about national security. Okay, we're talking about a president who decided to end collective bargaining agreements because it's a national security issue. According to him, he says bargaining agreements for federal employees is a national security risk. Okay, now we see a president who's putting national security itself at risk. Let's go on to this clip to get more context as to what we're talking about.
Staffing in control towers out at airports.
And right now, Burbank Airport near Los Angeles operating without air traffic controllers in the tower. It's expected to go on until 11 tonight. The FAA says regional air traffic controllers are handling those flights, but there are delays. And now to a live look out at DIA tonight. Here in Denver, the FAA issued a 60-minute ground stop this afternoon because of staffing issues, meaning flights coming to Denver were held at their original airports, though you can't see traffic out there tonight. The airport currently on a ground delay until just before 10:30. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying there have been increased staffing shortages across the system, and when that happens, the FAA slows traffic into some airports just to ensure safe operations.
So we don't have right now, we're facing a staffing shortage. We're facing a staffing shortage with our traffic air controllers. The people that are in charge of making sure that our skies are safe, that are trying to make sure that planes don't crash with one another, planes that carry people, that probably carry your family in there, that probably is carrying your children, taking your children to you to visit for birthdays, for holidays. It's these people that Trump is putting at risk because of this shutdown, because they're facing staffing issues, because who wants to go to work when you are not getting paid? How fair is it? And not only that, it takes an emotional toll on you, because you're working and you're worrying about your family. You're worrying about if you're able to, you're going to be able to pay for bills. You might need to do other stuff. I mean, why put our traffic air controllers into this category? And that's just the air traffic controller part. Well, we can see that also it applies with our TSA agents, TSOs. I mean, talk about national security. What's more national security than airports, right? And we're talking about people that are flying up in the air. We're talking about potential terroristic threats that are often faced at airports. And you're talking about weakening these efforts by telling these people, you know what? Because I don't want affordable health care for Americans, you're not going to get paid. Okay? Now, I want to dive into the comments on this video because I find it very interesting, some of the comments that I read, and it just shows how people are so divided because of their politics. So let's just dive in for a second here. There's this one comment says by William DR4V. I've been around nearly 6 decades, and I can confidently say that this is the worst administration in my lifetime. Just irresponsible, selfish, and without a single care for the working people of the United States. I can't disagree with this statement. It's not a political statement. It's certainly not a political statement. It's a statement that reflects the feelings of the American people who are suffering right now. And it's a statement that reflects what we are going through as a nation collectively. All right. This person has been around 6 decades, 60 years old, and they can confidently say that this is the worst administration in their lifetime. They're not talking about politics. This person is talking about how irresponsible and selfish this administration is. Can I disagree with this statement? No. I cannot disagree with a statement that talks truth, that says that this administration is irresponsible. Okay? Because we are playing with the lives of people that are up in the sky, that are going through the airports, that you don't know who's going through there, that your TSOs may not have their full mindset at the moment because of what they're going through in the government. You know, you have to do the best you can to ensure that the people that are working for you have their minds placed on the job. Okay. And by not doing that, you are failing the American government, and you are being selfish, and you don't care about the working people of the United States. I don't think I have to make much. I don't think I have to talk much about that, because it's blatant. It's a blatant and obvious truth that President Trump does not care for the working people of the United States. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen the farmers, whenever they talk about Trump, they thought that they voted for Trump because he was going to do the best for them. And it ended up costing them their farms, their businesses. And it's just terrible what we're going through, the tariffs that he's done in retaliation. I mean, all these different things that we are seeing by this administration don't benefit us at all. So yes, do I disagree with that comment? No, I cannot disagree with this comment, not because I'm biased, not because of my political views, but it's because of truth. I don't even know if this person's a Republican or a Democrat, and I don't care, because at the end of the day, it's not about politics, it's about people. Okay. Now, talk about following blindly, or blind following of a person or an ideology or whatever you want to call it, and repeating the same narratives over and over again and buying into the lies of this administration. Talk about all that. Let's go into this other comment right here. I do have something that I want to say about this. And this one says, so for them to get paid, and this is from Ken Porter 614. So for them to get paid, taxpayers have to foot the bill for healthcare for illegals. These Dems have their heads on backwards. Do I disagree with this statement? Yes. Firstly, we're repeating the same narratives that this administration is selling to you. I mean, just call into the White House. There's videos of people calling into the White House, and you hear Carolyn Levitt telling you, potentially violating the Hatch Act, right? Telling you that it is the Democrats' fault that the government is being currently shut down. And then you start selling this rhetoric and this narrative to people. And when people don't inform themselves, this is what happens. You buy into the lies of the administration. You're buying into whatever they want you to believe. Let's not be so gullible, people. Come on. Let's start thinking with our own heads and realize that what they're wanting to do is propaganda. They're propagandizing the American people, and you're buying into it. So Trump says that we are paying, taxpayers are paying for health care for illegal immigrants. Firstly, I don't agree with the use of the term illegals. I think that term itself should be illegal, because it's not really it's so dehumanizing. I've never understood how we can use such an ugly word to describe a human being. So, anyways, uh, other than that, does the American population pay for healthcare for illegal immigrants under the ACA? I've got another clip I want to show you where it eloquently debunks this statement and further demonstrates that Trump is lying to you. All right, so let's go into that video.
And you've heard this a lot. You've heard this over and over again from Republicans. They say Democrats want to give free health care to undocumented immigrants. You heard the vice president say it right at the top of the show. A new ad out from Republicans today says basically that. Watch.
Democrats are grinding America to a halt in order to give illegal immigrants free health care.
Democrats say that.
Hold on, and I just want to say, isn't it crazy that they made this commercial? Just think about that for a second. Okay, let's go on.
Not at all true.
That is a bold-faced lie, and it really shows how desperate they are.
Okay, so what is the reality here? Start with this. Undocumented immigrants who come across the border, who've been flagged for deportation, they cannot get Medicaid. They cannot get Obamacare. They can't get on the Affordable Care Act. That is not legal. Democrats are not trying to change that.
Okay, let's stop it there. Over and over again, this administration fails to recognize this point. And the point is that it is illegal for illegal immigrants to get health care under the ACA. That means that we are not paying for illegal immigrants' health care under this bill. So if it's not true, then why shut down the government? If it is not true, then why tell the American people that this is a consequence of the Democrats wanting to pay for the health care of illegal immigrants? If it is illegal to pay for health care for illegal immigrants, then why are we telling the American people that this is what's happening? And the answer is that it's not, that it is a lie, and that we do not pay for the health care of illegal immigrants under the ACA, and that, frankly, it is the American people, Americans. That may be your a family member, a friend, your grandmother. It may be somebody that you know that is under Obamacare that may lose access to their health care potentially forever, because this administration will not negotiate for this. So what happens to those who are dependent on insulin? What happens to those that often have a chronic medical condition that has them ending up in the hospital quite often because COPD, because of asthma, because of chronic heart failure, because we see the precedent with chronic vein insufficiency. He gets access to health care, right? He can get access and get stabilized, and he's probably, whenever he's not rambling in front of the cameras, he's probably in the hospital, because there's times where we don't see him, and this is just me speculating, of course, but we often don't see him on the cameras, and we all know that that's his favorite hobby, is to sit down in front of cameras and just ramble on different things that don't make sense. So, and he's probably in the hospital. He's probably with his doctor. He doesn't care. He gets health care. He gets unlimited access to health care. Why would he care for people that don't have that same benefit? And the answer is he doesn't. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about whether you live or die. He doesn't care whether you can pay for your insulin at the end of the month, if you can afford it, if you can afford going to the hospital, if you can afford your chemotherapy treatments. He doesn't care if your grandmother is able to afford her doctors and her nursing homes and whatever it is that they get benefits out of the ACA. He doesn't care, because he's made this into a political issue. The safety and health care of the American people. So next time you get into a plane during the shutdown, and I just had family that came from a plane. They just stepped out of a plane yesterday, right? And they said it was the scariest time of their life. Of course, they were coming through a storm, so it has nothing to do with the government. But I was thinking about the other effects. They might have not seen it, but I was thinking about the other effects, what was going in the backgrounds, because I'm very involved in the background of how these agencies work. So I'm very well aware of how they work, and I'm very well informed of how they will cut corners and not care, and how they will still continue to try to run even when they don't have sufficient staffing. So at the end of the day, next time you get into a plane during the government shutdown, think to yourself, is this really the type of president that I want? Whenever you are buying your medicines and you can afford it because but there's people that can't afford it. And we're talking about the less fortunate here. I mean, think about those that are less fortunate than you. As Americans, I think the worst thing that we have done to ourselves is to not care for one another. All right. And of course, caring has costs associated with it. Right. And we can all agree that. We can all agree in that because I care for somebody, sometimes it comes with a cost. So do I want to help those in need through my taxes, or help those who don't need it, such as big corporations who honestly don't need my money, but we're just making them? Do I want to make them even more powerful by siding along with the people that don't care about me, but they will say they care about me, and keep them in power? The choice is yours. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me in today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this content has brought some light into what's going on in the federal government with this shutdown. And I hope that if you are not a subscriber, I hope that you truly appreciate the value in our show. We are building a show that is for the American people. We're building a show for everybody. So please, if you appreciate it, make sure to share, like, and subscribe. Truly, it helps us out, and it will keep us going. And if you don't like the content, you don't want to subscribe, you don't have to do it. But we will still keep making it, because we have a message to spread to the people, and we're going to make sure that it gets out, even if they want us to be silent. All right. So thank you all very much for watching. God bless. Take care. Be safe. And remember, we are not giving up.